art, inventions, music, brand identities. In the creative industry, IP ensures that creators are recognized, valued, rewarded, and protected against exploitation. The challenges in the creative economy for intellectual property, by IP, I mean intellectual property, is lack of awareness. Many creators are aware of their rights and lose control of their creations and brainwork. Weak enforcement, I've mentioned that already, by NCC. And then the most painful part of it is the one of informal agreements. I always tell everybody the joke. Please, be a bad person so that we don't have more cases in court. Be a bad person. Be a bad friend. You know, in Nigeria, when you want to buy land, you know, the friend of my best friend or the uncle of my best friend promised me that this land is genuine, this house is genuine. You don't do due diligence. I think people have learned their lesson now in the last couple of decades. But in those days, we had unnecessary litigation because people would just say, oh, it is the friend or the father of brother, so. I don't want to say Lagbaja, I'm Yoruba. Lagbaja that took me there, so of course it is all right. And then you end up with a weak agreement that won't stand up in court. And then story continues. So I think part of the major work of this innovation is to firm up agreements between all the parties involved in the creative endeavor. And part of their work, as I've been told, so I'm going to now repeat what they told me. So what I've been telling you is mine. So I'm going to repeat what they told me now. We started by saying that I'm a lawyer. So I'm not going to say what is not mine so that I won't be accused of copyright infringement. They've told me that FINESA integrates an academic feature that educates creative on their IP rights, the value of their creations, and legal mechanisms for protection. They've told me that they have legal document management, and they have a framework which provides customizable templates for contracts, licenses, NDAs to formalize collaborations and protect ownership. Isn't it wonderful to be a mother? My children are taking care of me. I have 2 bottles of water already. They've told me. Oh, that's the 3rd one. Oh, no, just the 2nd one. Thank you. They've told me that with FINESA's project and contract management features, creators can track ownership, collaborations, and revenue sharing agreements, reducing disputes. They've also told me that they promote accountability in IP ownership, which includes the fact that creators can digitalize their agreements and maintain clear records of rights ownership and contributions in collaborations. So I take that to mean that if the sound engineer was supposed to meet with the singer 5 times, right? And he came only twice, he won't be able to claim money for 5 times, right? Okay, I'm getting a nod there. So, promoting accountability in IP ownership. Yes, I've said that. Financial alignment with IP protection. They said they are linking finance tools with IP contracts, ensures that creators receive payments fast based on agreed terms. etc., etc. And that they aim to support collaboration without exploitation. And they mean to impact on policy and the creative economy by being a bridge between IP law and practical application, empowering creators while supporting the enforcement of IP policies. And then also they have a global outlook, and they will try to ensure compliance with international IP treaties, such as the Berne Convention and the TRIPS Agreement, and that they are a legal and business enabler. So, my conclusion, this is me, is by integrating IP jurisprudence into its core functions, this startup not only protects creators, but also fosters innovation and growth in the creative economy. On a final note, I'm about to round up. I'm not going to be one of those lawyers when you give them the mic, they go on and on and on ad nauseum. I will just say enough not to bore you. On a final note, I beg, that's our language in Nigeria, I beg the creative people in Nigeria, whether old or young, try to embrace who you are. Don't be boxed in into doing what my generation wants you to do. I know you have to survive and pay the bills. It is a process to be yourself, to be creative, to build. Please dream to be great. God has not promised that the path would have no challenges. But with God, with consistency, your passion will evolve into your calling, and in time become something that becomes your fortune in joy and financial security. I congratulate Femi Akimbote and Alex Okunsanya, the brilliant, tenacious young men who have conceived this idea of creating and harnessing different aspects of the creative experience into a painless and fruitful one. I also congratulate all the people who have encouraged them along this journey. I also congratulate the parents who are here, Otumba Ejilayo and Mrs. Alaba Akimbote. And we have MS Violet Olaiton Williams here too. Congratulations. I use Femi and Alex to pray that all the creative artists here and everywhere in Nigeria will not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. You will bring forth joy to the world and to your family. Thanks for your time and attention.
Let's put our hands together again for the Honorable Justice Helen Moronkeji Ogumiju. She's left me an iPad. Thank you very much, Wa. So like I said, we'll just try as much as we can to just keep this moving. Just before we continue, we also have a special, just a goodwill message from the First Lady of Kwara State. That's Ambassador Olufolake Abdulrazak. So if you can have the...
for me to be with you this evening, virtually. Finance Conference, which seeks to explore and shape the future of interconnected sectors to impact people, businesses, government institutions, policymakers, and the larger economy. Today's event no doubt speaks to the ingenuity of Nigerian youth and their capacity to create pathways into harnessing opportunities that abound in the digital space, to advocate for access to knowledge and opportunities for creatives, entrepreneurs, and innovators alike. By integrating trust, structure, and access to finance, the FINISA framework for Brainwork is positioned to combat gender-based violence, promote female creatives, and revolutionize Nigeria's creative economy through innovative technology. As a gender development advocate, I am indeed inclined to support this initiative as it seeks to promote parity in the Nigeria creative space, proffering support for female practitioners and conscious of their protection against all forms of violence. Going forward, supporting female-led creative projects, such as highlighted by FINISA, remains essential for the overall socio-economic development of the country and indeed the continent. As you may be well aware, I amplified this while speaking at the Entertain Lagos event in December, as my office and the Ajike People Support Center remain committed to promoting all creative endeavors, particularly as it concerns women. Distinguished participants, permit me to commend the conveners of this conference for the hard work that culminated in today's event, as I enjoin the founders of this initiative not to relent in their quest towards repositioning the Nigeria creative space with innovative digital technology. In closing, I enjoin you to take a cue from Femi and Alex and proffer ways to improving the lot of the country in their respective spaces, contributing their fair quota to the development of our dear country. I wish you all well and wish you a successful summit. Thank you, and I hope for a rewarding session and to hear back on the outcomes of today's event. Thank you very much. Distinguished.
Let's put our hands together. And also, I just want to take our time to also recognize in our midst today the Commissioner for Youth and Social Development in Lagos, Mr. Mobolaji Ogunlende. Let's put our hands together. Thank you so much for being here. I want to keep things moving right now. Like I said, I know how crazy the traffic situation in Lagos is. So we want to start with the first panel. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as I call on the moderator for this first panel. That's Miss Ayo Kote. I hope I got that correctly. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Ms. Ayo Kote as we kick off the various panel conversations today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Honorable Justice Ogunwumiju, my lord. Good evening, representative of the Lagos State Governor. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to the first panel for today. My name is Ayodele Kote. I am the head of legal and commercial at Blackstone Legal Advisory Services, and I am also the company secretary for Woodhall Capital. So our first panel today will be on the business of creativity, funding, security, and scaling for success. So I'll jump right into it and call my first panelist for today. My first panelist for today is the co-founder Andela, managing partner Accelerate Africa. He's a former MD and founder Flutterwave, none other than Mr. Inyeoluwa Aboyeji, OON. He has successfully founded and run 2 unicorns, and we're excited to have him on the panel today. A round of applause for him if he's in the room. Okay, please let's keep clapping and encouraging him as he comes on stage. Yes, I noticed he was already being very much engaged out there. Please come up, sir, and have a seat. And we hope to engage him more on this panel, pick his brain, and see how the creatives here can learn from his exploits. My next panelist for today is Ms. Moria Majaga. She is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Creative Arts and Culture. A round of applause for her, please. Please keep clapping till she sits down. The next person on my panel is the Group CEO, Wakanao, and founder, Lion Africa Group, and Wave Beach Entertainment Hub, Mr. Adebayo Adedeji. A round of applause for him. He describes himself as a growth hacker, turnaround expert, product innovator, finance leader, known for his big dreams and bold moves. A round of applause for him. I'm privileged to welcome on stage a revered senior at the bar, Mr. Rotimi Akapo. If he's in the building, please come on stage, sir. A round of applause for him. He is a partner at Advocate Law Practice, where he heads the telecommunications, media, and tech practice. You're welcome, sir. A round of applause for him. My next panelist is Mr. Nelson Jack. He is the CEO of Nelson Jack Production and Events Technology. He is known as the king of stage in the entertainment and event industry. If you have ever been to an event and you got mesmerized by the beauty of the stage, there's a possibility that Mr. Jack designed it. A round of applause for him. Last but not the least on my very large panel is an A&R executive. He's the co-founder of Plug Entertainment, a music industry strategist, Mr. Bizul Oshikoya. Bizul is a music executive with extensive experience in digital marketing and A&R within the Nigerian music industry. He's often referred to as a plug's plug. A round of applause for my panelists, please. So yes, we'll go right into it. With the creatives in the room and the business people in the room, for us to run a business, whether it's a creative business or any sector you are in, it is important that you have enough investment, enough capital. And so my first question will be on how to attract investors and be investment ready. So this question will be for Mr. Inyoluwa Boyeji. So many creatives struggle with financial planning. What specific numbers or business structures do investors like you look for when evaluating businesses that you want to partner with?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me here. It's such a pleasure. I'll stand on the already existing protocol. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I should probably define the kind of investor I am, because I think this question is one that is different for every investor, and I don't pretend that I am your typical investor. So at Future Africa, we back builders who are building businesses that are turning our biggest challenges into global businesses. And we do that by backing them with capital, coaching, and community. We often do that at the very, very earliest stage. And we've backed about 130 companies over the last 10 years that have gone on to build about $6 billion in value. And so our expertise is really taking ideas at a very, very early stage and then helping to build them into billion-dollar companies. With respect to the question you asked, what we are looking for when we are looking at a business at the very earliest stages is really first, we're trying to understand the problem you're trying to solve. And typically we have our own thoughts about that problem. And so we want to understand whether we share a point of view with you about how that problem could be solved. But the differentiator oftentimes is the founder who comes with a unique customer insight that we previously didn't recognize or acknowledge, or that we missed about how that problem would be solved. And as you can imagine, because we get hundreds of pitches every day, we often see a lot of founders tell us the same thing again and again and again and again. And it's very easy to dismiss that. But every now and then, somebody comes to us with a fresh perspective on a problem, and they bring in a unique customer insight that logically demonstrates why the business that they're doing is more likely to succeed than others. And so at that point, we are willing to put up the funds to actually try it out and see if it works. 90% of the time it doesn't, and that's okay. Those are losses we absorb. I always say you can only lose 1 time your money in our business. But then on the times that it succeeds, it's usually a very good return for us, and those returns cover, all our losses.
Thank you very much for that answer. I like where we started this conversation from, which is from the very beginning of, a creative's journey into scaling up for success. So this will lead me to my next question, and this is to Ms. Mariam. Many creatives struggle with, inadequate facilities for them to be able to, harness their prowess and, just express themselves, say with production studios, performance spaces, just having adequate facility to carry out this creativity. Are there plans to address this? And, what kind of capacity programs can we look forward to, as creatives in the room?
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me and my fellow panelists for joining me here on stage. Thank you for that question. Currently, the administration's focus is solely inward. And when I say inward, when you speak of a lack of infrastructure, you're correct. Nigeria has the human resources, and we also have the content. And the one thing that we are lacking is the infrastructure in order to showcase the content which we have. And a lot of times what we find are that our creatives are going abroad to showcase their talents and their content, and we even have nations asking to borrow our content from us. And we agree to do that, but we're also very focused on building infrastructure here at home. And we're partnering with different organizations in order to do so. We do realize that in order for us to continue to grow on a global scale, we will need those infrastructures and to have those in place. The ministry, along with this administration, has recently passed the FEC-approved memo for the Creative and Cultural Infrastructure Corporation, which will be a special, an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, which will enable the environment and enable the government to partner easily with private sector to establish these infrastructures, such as the studios that you mentioned, having a national gallery, having more innovative studios for film as well as music, content creators as well. So the Honorable Minister and Mr. President are very much focused, as well as this entire administration. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for that. I like that you spoke about international collaborations. My next question will be to Mr. Adebayo. We have seen, with your product, Waka Now, we see that Waka Now is one of the top tourism and travel platforms. How have you managed, for the creatives in the space, in this room, how have you managed to stay ahead of competition and succeeded even, with international companies as competition? How have you stayed ahead of the risk that comes from running that kind of business?
Thank you for your question. I think this is a question that gets me to advertise my business. So thank you for that question. I think I'm trying to wake the room up. I think it's a little too cold. My name is Bayo. I sell travel. If you don't buy your ticket from Waka Now, you'll miss your flight in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. So, how do we stay ahead of competition? Exactly what I just did. We focus on the customer. I took over Wakana 6 years ago, and what we did differently was not the dreams of the founders is still alive. And the dreams of the founder was to democratize access to travel. I always tell this story every time I get a chance. The first time I was going to go abroad and get on a plane, I was going to school. And I wanted to buy a ticket. And I went to a travel agency in Airport Road in Ikeja. And the woman told me to sit down, that she's coming. And 3 hours later, she called me to come to the counter and told me the flight was 600,000 naira. And my salary then was 180,000. I had saved up 400,000, so I didn't have enough, so I started begging. I begged till like 8 p.m. at night, and then she told me, okay, bring it. And she issued me an Emirates ticket with a 23-hour layover in Dubai. I was going to the US for the first time. I didn't care. The fact that I could not pick my own itinerary was why Wakana came to life. The fact that you can go online on your mobile phone and pick your itinerary is why we're ahead. The fact that we don't see ourselves as not being creative, we see ourselves as creatives, because we have to innovate every day. Think about pay small, small. People say we are mad, that you can pay 10% down and you can get your ticket, and it's not being financed by a bank. It's because we sit down, we leverage data that the creatives also leverage. We leverage creativity. I was talking to the man from Trace and telling him about an advert that we want to launch. And you're going to see that come out soon. I mainly said we can do it on Trace. It's the creativity of how we sell, how we focus on the customer, how we just don't think about cents and dollars, but we think about if we take care of the customer, if we solve the customer's problem, if we entice the customer, if we endear the customer, we then win the business. And that's why we're different, that's why we're special, and that's why we're wakanow.com.
Well done. Speaking about what makes you special, every creative has that idea, innovation that keeps them going, keeps them sleepless at night. So what do we do to protect the intellectual property of these creatives? There's copyright infringement and piracy are major concerns in this industry. Mr. Akapo, what legal measures can creatives take to protect their work online?
Okay. Thank you very much. Also, thank you to the organizers for inviting me to this event. So I guess that's the billion-dollar question, right? Because there's no point creating content and you don't benefit from the content, and then it's third parties that are benefiting from the content. My Lord basically said it earlier. And I think the mistake a lot of people do in the first instance is they don't have agreements in place. I think it is critical for agreements to be in place for whatever you're doing. And I think in the creative space, it is important for people to start understanding that. So you read every day in the newspapers, artists having issues with their studios, and they will say, oh, we had an agreement in principle, or as my Lord said, I thought he was my friend. And then you don't have anything written down, and you think that's how it goes. Because when money starts to come, that's when you start seeing people having issues. So it is critical that agreements must be in place. Now, where the agreements are in place also, specifics needs to happen. So you need to have specifics around intellectual property protection, right? So who owns the intellectual property? How is it managed? If there are royalties involved, how is it licensed, for example? Do you just say, look, you can use my intellectual property for practically everything you want to use it for, or you find a way to compartmentalize how the intellectual property is used? In what geographical area is the intellectual property to be used? How is it supposed to be used? And I think it is important for people to start thinking about that. Now, in terms of piracy, I don't think piracy is going to disappear all of a sudden. I think it's something that we will continue to grapple with. When I was serving, and it was very, it sort of resonated with me when my Lord was talking about how people used to record. So when I was serving somewhere in the East, at around 11 o'clock, between 11 o'clock and 3 a.m., this gentleman would be blaring music. I thought it was like having a party or something until I was told by the other coppers there that he was actually recording. So he would buy one CD, and for like a period of about 4 hours, he would be recording continuously. Because I thought it was a party, but, and so when my Lord was mentioning it, I just started, I was giggling inside. But I think with technology now, piracy can be limited. There are various technology tools that you can use. I mean, you can have metadata, for example, in your content, video, PDFs, whatever. You can watermark it. You can make it difficult for people to copy. You understand? With those technologies in place, I mean, look, it becomes a lot more difficult to do it. People will still try, but if those digital rights management tools are also available for people to use to make sure that, copying and unauthorized access is limited to the barest minimum. So I would say that have the necessary contracts in place, use the necessary technology tools, but most importantly also, work with all these collective management agencies. You understand? Because they know how to deal with matters like this so that they can help to curb it a little bit more. In a way, that will help to reduce infractions as much as possible.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Speaking about management contracts and having, a good management behind you, best strategists behind you, my question would be to Mr. Bizzle. You've been involved in artist development and management. What are the key things an artist or a creative should look out for when signing with a record label, with a management company? Should managers take a percentage, or are there better compensation models that not everyone is exposed to yet?
Hello, everyone. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you for the question. I think it's a very, very valid question, and I think the number one thing I tell artists that I work with, even if they don't work with me or sign with me, to look for when signing contracts is integrity. I feel like that's the most important thing with any label or management you want to work with. And most definitely, there's no other way to do it without giving a percentage to the management or the label you're working with, because these guys are practically slaving their lives away to help you, achieve your dreams. And I feel like the only way to compensate them is via, a percentage. I don't think paying a salary will justify the amount of effort they put into it. Because take, for example, an artist manager, he's forfeiting his life and his dreams just to help you build your own dreams. And then you want to pay him a salary because you feel like, that's what he deserves. So most times it's percentages that really work for those situations.
Thank you for that. So in increasing a creative's revenue sources, what are smart ways creatives can diversify their income streams to become more financially resilient?
All right, thank you for that. I feel right now it's something I've been pushing a lot lately, which is advising a lot of creatives to, find wealth managers to help them, invest their money and their wealth in proper places, rather than them just spending it on luxury or, on luxury goods, looking for proper ways to make investments. We've seen things like people like where Maven Records, for example, Don Jazzy, how they've been able to build their label with catalog. They had a VC come in, support them. Now Universal came and bought and took over. With Don Jazzy now, he's made money from that. With the money they've made, they've been able to invest into other businesses you see him doing across different sectors. So for me, it's like the most important thing is looking for people who can help you actually properly manage your wealth.
Thank you for that. Because the theme of our panel discussion today is on scaling for success, I would like to ask more questions on, increasing the wealth for the creatives. And that will lead to my next question for Mr. Nelson Jack. You're in the event production sector. I would like you to speak on, there are a lot of creatives who want to be able to attract sponsors, who want to be able to attract investors for their events, especially with the Dirty December rave and the craze. A lot more creatives want to have events. So how are they able to position themselves to have investors, maybe not for their creative works, but for the success that can come out from these events? How do you think they should go about this?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Nelson Jack once again.
and thank you for this wonderful event. 20 years ago, I identified an industry where it was neglected for a while, infusing technology and entertainment. You know, taking technology and backing it up with, production. You are in this room right now. The technology that is in this room driving this event, yeah, a lot of you don't know how we got here. Do you understand? So you have a wireless mic, you have monitors, you have projectors, you have the screens, you have the chairs, you have everything. But a lot of you don't know how we get here, which is where our specialty comes to play. And in our course or our journey through this entire industry, we hear all sorts of events. Somebody wants to do an event, he wants to do a fashion show, he wants to do with this, he wants to do with that, and he's looking for sponsors. First and foremost, the key word is creativity and difference. You cannot do the same thing. Somebody needs to hear your idea, put it in a pitch deck, yeah, present it to anyone. To reach anybody in this country, you probably need 2 or 3 phone calls. If your idea is fresh, trust me, people will pay attention. So back in the day, a girl wanted to do a fashion show, and I've heard so much about fashion shows, but she came to the table and said, I wanted to wear 20 outfits on a rotating stage. And that was fresh. Took her to some couple of people's, and they loved the idea. Creativity and freshness. And guess what? She got it done. So that's a simpler way to get your, sponsorship, your direction. Just be creative and be different. Yeah.
So be creative, be different, and stay fresh with your ideas. My next question is for the CEO of Wakanow. In your global expansion and increasing your reach, what were the biggest business risks that you encountered while scaling business? And how can these risks be mitigated?
Okay, I don't know the answer to I don't know how the risk can be mitigated, but I can tell you now, the biggest risk in expansion is fraud. And for me, it's maybe that's because it's top of mind for me. The monies they've stole outside of Nigeria from us is more than what we've lost in Nigeria. I actually don't think Nigerians steal anymore. The number of chargebacks we had in December, in January, was not from Earth. People bought tickets from the UK to come UK, Nigeria. They flew on that flight, and they came back and canceled their credit cards, literally. Yeah. And I think we had like £260,000, in 1 month, last month, and we're still getting chargebacks. And that happens in the US. I've heard people cancel their remittance business from fraud because of expansion. In another country, let me not mention the name of the country, I have people in jail right now because they literally took our money because the cash economy, especially in Africa. When you go to West Africa, a lot of West Africa, I'll not mention those countries. When you travel there, it feels like you went back to the past. If you want to visit 1980, I can tell you the country to go.
Mr. Bayo, say it with your full chest.
No, not my full chest. But because when you go there, you find out how not Lagos it is. And you get humbled a little bit for the things you complain about in Lagos. Because you find out that they are not even there yet, right? They have mobile money, they have some, but they're still paying cash, a lot of cash. With a lot of cash comes fraud. And I say that the average Nigerian is arrogant and ignorant because we don't even know Africa. And until you travel Africa and see that the complaints we complained here is not all the way valid because the rest of Africa is still way, way behind us and there's more opportunity. So I'll tell you, number one, there's market outside of Nigeria. There's market outside of Nigeria. I like what Inyi said about scaling companies globally. I have a different opinion. We can have a different debate about it. But I say to you that the challenge of scaling is that you just don't know what you don't know until you actually go out and try it. When you go try it, you do learn new things. You do learn how people pay. You learn how people do business. You learn how people, and I was focused on Africa a little bit. The use of our 5 senses in Africa is predominant. People want to see, touch. Hopefully they don't use their tongue when they come to you buy tickets. But people like to see who they are paying. People like to come to your office and visit you. Sometimes people want to pay you cash and see you put it in your safe to be sure that you issue the ticket, right? And global expansion is great, and I talk about African expansions particularly, is great, but there's a lot of things that can hinder you as you go on that journey. And I'll conclude with this. I am of the opinion that we also have to learn to conquer our local environment before we start thinking global. I think sometimes the thought of global is easy to think about. It's something that we dream about, to earn dollars, and do this big thing. And there's money on the table, right? And a perfect example for me, I have a beach, and Beach. Come on, guys. I wasn't saying anything. I just spelled it. So it's called Wave Beach, and we built it. And I got hungry. I wanted to venture out into VI. So I went and opened another club in VI called Athena Beach. Athena failed in 3 months. And the first lesson I learned was, if I just stayed at that beach, and I went back to the beach and I started building. I continued building. I built an event center. I built a beach house. I built another beach called Athena. I built a theme park. And guess what? They closed Landmark. They closed Good Beach. They closed Soul Beach. And what I learned was sometimes we go out aspiring for that thing that we don't have, and we don't focus on what we have. For everybody in the room, I'll say this to you. Nigeria is an amazing place. I moved back 6 years ago. I am moving back. I am going back nowhere. Because the opportunities here, I don't think I can finish taking them. And that's how I think about international expansion. Because, bro, there's problem. Sorry, sister. There's problem outside of this country that you just can't imagine.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So his answer obviously leads me to, the government and what the government is doing to make sure that we're in a better, more conducive environment for all of these creative things we want to do within the country. So from your experience, what regulatory obstacles have you seen that we've had to face, and what is the government doing and working to create a more enabling environment for us in the creative?
Thank you again for that question. Well, the regulatory issues that have most come up during stakeholder sessions with creatives has been taxes, incentives, and policy framework. And from the initiation of the Honorable Minister Hannatu Musa Musawa's administration, the first thing that she focused on was IP policy and policy framework, tax incentives, as well as His Excellency, Mr. President. He has put together a presidential committee for tax incentives, and that has been the focus of this administration. The Honorable Minister's pushing, and I've seen a couple of our committee members here, for the cultural policy, the tourism policy, and the IP policy. She wants to lay a foundation that will create an enabling environment for the creatives here in Nigeria so that everybody will be able to succeed and to democratize creativity. Before, oil was the big business here in Nigeria, and now we've diversified away from oil. You had the banking sector, the telecom sector that was booming, then you went into the fintech, and now it's time for the creatives. And in order for the creatives to succeed, we do understand that the policy framework must be in place and tax incentives must be in place.
Awesome, thank you for that. So I'd like to ask Mr. Inyoluwa, how can creatives not just attract, but retain investors and maintain a healthy business and relationship with them?
I often say that the kind of people I like to work with as an investor are the people who care more about their customer than they do about their family. And I've seen, I regularly work with people like that because for them, it's not about making money and showing off. It's just about serving the customer and creating value for the customer. And when you see a founder like that, you're always going to come back to the table and back them again and again and again and again because you know that they're not doing this for the money. You know that they're doing this because this is what gives their whole life meaning. If creatives really want to get investors. I mean, I don't know if they should care that much about investors in the first place, right? It's like, I mean, do you care about your art? Investors are secondary. Do you care about the people who consume your art? And then, you know, then if you understand your customer really well, you're going to be in a better position to be able to engage the right kind of investor. Because like I said, there are many kinds of investors, right? And there's some investors you as a creative probably don't even want to retain, if you know what I mean. So, you know, the question is, how do you retain your customer? If you retain your customer, you show you can consistently create value for your customer. Investors like me are always going to bet on you and bank on you because we know nobody knows the customer better than you do. And we're, you know, I mean, for me, the businesses, the way we fund businesses, you know, we start out writing $25,000 checks, sometimes $5,000 checks, and the kind of relationship people who are short-sighted have with us is like, hey, I can just scam them, take this 25K and go and do something with it. But what they don't realize is that founders that go on that journey with us end up with a $100 million check, right? And your journey ended at $5,000 because you were short-sighted. So I think if you're a creative, my advice is, first of all, love your customer. Second of all, don't be short-sighted. And then, you know, of course, I love what Bizo said about integrity. Integrity is everything. The moment we can't trust you, it doesn't matter what's written on paper, we just won't do business with you again.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Is the audience allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to be taking just 2 questions. Thank you so much, Ayodele. We're going to take 2 questions from the audience. Can I say show of hands? There's a lady up there in the back, and there's another lady up there. So. Yes. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Can I introduce myself first? Yeah, cool. Hi, guys. Good panel so far. My name is Sheya Lawade. So I want to ask, particularly to E. So I currently I run a venture studio, right? And most of the startups in our funnel are kind of like an intersection between tech and creative economy. So we have the fintechs, the e-commerce, the logistics. On the other hand, we have the fashion houses, the music labels, media companies. And because of that, we do have to kind of like develop a relationship with VCs. And what I find is when we're having these conversations, everyone's interested in the tech, nobody wants to back creatives. And I get it because I guess people say like creatives don't understand business, creatives can't give you back your money. But I feel like currently like the financing options, especially in VC, just aren't creative friendly. Creatives are more like kind of like project based, like concerts and like all of that stuff. Whereas like VCs want to like 100x their money. So how do you kind of like navigate that is my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I always come back to depends on what kind of investor you're talking to. The best performing company in our portfolio by a mile are 4 filmmakers in Nigeria who make $10 million a year in this country. Because they figured something out about the film industry that most people didn't understand. So I don't think you should, I don't know the VCs you're talking to, but we're talking to creatives and we're making a lot of money backing creatives. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what really matters to us though is really, and the challenge we often have with creatives, or the typical creative, is that the creative has received a lot of generic business advice that actually makes them sound like everybody else. And so we've probably heard that pitch before and we don't care. That's usually the problem. I love concepts that are very unique and bold and can scale. And, you know, like, I often see those concepts The challenge is often that either the creative is afraid of collaborating with the right kind of people, and they're short-sighted in their thought process about how to scale with technology, or sometimes they just received a lot of generic business advice and they've now modulated their creativity to sound like what everybody else is doing. And oftentimes you just find that those types of projects, they don't scale for us very well. So I think it's just about being a bit more ambitious and actually thinking from first principles and having the courage to stick to your convictions about it. I'm always happy to hear more about creative pitches. Whenever I can, I do give advice. I've spent time with a lot of creatives. It's an area that we want to invest even more money in because it's made us quite a bit of money already in our current fund. So I don't think we're one of those VCs you're talking about.
Thank you so much, Iyi. There is a question here for Ms. Mariam Ajaga. What's your name?
Raymond. Okay. Hi, Opodikazu. I'm Raymond Anyafalu. I'm founder of Afro Music Digital. Quick question. How is the government working on helping initiatives for tech that would help in building the framework? Like, for example, digital data exchange, we need to have frameworks on that, and there are companies that are literally building that now easily. With the help of AI and a lot of ways of writing code faster, I think the creative economy has come to a point where tech, people, and the creative force, like the literal producers, are making differences by writing this code. Is there a way the government is making initiatives like grants or like research labs we can use to just like write code?
Raymond, thank you for that question. There has recently been passed before the end of last year was the Creative Economy Development Fund. The Creative Economy Development Fund will provide creative ways to finance such products that you're speaking of. That fund was conceptualized alongside the IP policy. As we were reviewing the IP policy, we realized that there are a lot of funds out there, but they don't speak to the issue that you just raised. And therefore, we decided to create a fund that would speak directly to that issue because the digital economy is an enabler of the creative economy, and we need to find ways to synergize and align. And we also need to enable that environment and that for the entire ecosystem. So you will shortly begin to see, once the Creative Economy Development Fund is activated, the possibilities of the financing that you're speaking of. And that is the initiative that the government has taken and the ministry has taken to address that issue. Thank you.
And that'll be all with the questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, so just before my panelists get off stage, I would like for them in just 20 seconds, say the one thing you want everyone in the room to know as relates with what you do. Any advice? Any 1 minute tip, 2 seconds tip?
I think for us, it's just we're looking for creatives that know their customer and love their customers. If that's you, you can email me at e@future.africa.
I'm looking for opportunities to engage with stakeholders like yourself. You are our constituents, and all we want is to hear from you so that we can better serve you.
I'm hoping that you get money from both of them and buy more tickets from me. And you can get to see the world. And you need hotels, you need visa assistance, you need travel, you want to get on a plane, you need anything you need that has to do with travel to shoot to do a shoot. I have a nice beach. I have one called Athena, another one called Wave. If you need a beach house, I have one. You don't need a boat to get there.
Mr. Bayer, we said 30 seconds. A round of applause, please.
Okay, so I'm the opposite of this gentleman here because I'm a lawyer. I can't advertise, right? So I can only, and I'm not going to give, I'm not going to give free legal advice also, right? So, but I'm just going to say what I said earlier. Look, if you're going to engage in whatever we have been talking about here all day, make sure there's a contract. Make sure you get a lawyer to advise you on the contract. Usually what happens is people think that they can get away with doing it, and it had been said earlier that Nigerians would try to think that Nigeria doesn't work. It's when you're a victim that you realize that Nigeria works. So get an agreement for whatever you're doing.
Okay. Mine is for you people to the government so that the government understands the importance of everything that you're doing. You have an industry that is shied away from because they don't think it's scalable, they don't think it's this, they don't think it's that. One thing, if you build an event technology hub that subsidizes the equipment, statistically speaking, 30 December made the most money in Lagos in 30 days. Am I lying? The amount, they were so proud of it, they put it on the news. Did you know that we could actually cash in on it? Even use it might not even be a mainstream educational channel. It could be a vocational channel that will help our youths, train them, and you even know more about the technology and the equipment that drives the creative market. Thank you very much.
I need money from E. I need discounted tickets. I need free legal advice. I need equipment for my events. And I need government support. Thank you.
Awesome. So you're all encouraged, of course, to engage with everyone around you. You don't know who you're sitting beside, and you don't know what opportunities you'll be able to explore together. So thank you. A huge round of applause for my panelists. Thank you.
Who is the first one? Who is the first goodwill message? Who is the first goodwill message?
Pictures. Charlie Ashagaya.
And then,
But he has the protocol. He has the protocol for, okay, it's there.
it's there.
Then the next one is the first one on that list I sent.
As we take the photographs for media, press people, please let's make this quick. We'll be preparing to call on Ms. Chalia Shagaya, Senior Special Assistant to the Presidency on Entrepreneurship Development, CIDE. So, thank you. A round of applause for our first panel. Thank you so much. Chat with you.
Permit me to stand on already established protocols. Good evening, distinguished guests, entrepreneurs, innovators, and industry leaders. Sorry, should I wait for everyone to sort of settle down and I can continue? Are we good? Thank you. It's a privilege to be here today at SYNERGYCON 1.0, where some of the brightest minds in technology, finance, law, and creative industries have come together to discuss one of the most important pillars of modern business, intellectual property. The theme today, your IP, your future, collaboration for economic growth, is not just a topic for discussion, it's a call to action. Intellectual property is the foundation of innovation-driven economies. It is what separates the simple idea from a thriving enterprise. It ensures that those who create, build, and innovate are the ones who benefit from their work. Yet we know this is not always the case. Too often, entrepreneurs lose control of their ideas and innovations because they are not properly protected. They create, but others profit. They innovate, but bigger players in the market take over. This must change. If we are to achieve sustainable economic growth, we must strengthen the protection of intellectual property and ensure that entrepreneurship thrives in a fair and equitable environment. As entrepreneurs, you cannot afford to carelessly go about your business and not protect your intellectual property. Intellectual property is the hidden wealth for entrepreneurs. Your ideas, designs, technology, and brands are your most valuable assets. But if they are not protected, they can easily be taken, copied, or monetized by others, often without your permission or benefit. We have all seen it happen. A fashion designer spends years perfecting a unique pattern, only for a large company to replicate it and mass produce it without credit. A tech entrepreneur develops a groundbreaking app, but without a patent, a bigger firm copies the idea and dominates the market. A musician, or filmmaker creates an original work, yet streaming platforms or businesses use it without fair compensation. These are not just individual losses. They are losses to the economy at large, because every stolen idea is a missed opportunity for job creation. Business expansion and wealth generation also suffer. One of the biggest threats to innovation today is IP appropriation, and large corporations, global brands, and even foreign markets take creative work from entrepreneurs, repackage them, and profit from them without permission. We see it, like I've mentioned, in fashion, especially in our African textiles and cultural designs, as used in global luxury collections without credit or payment. We see it in technology, where local software solutions are copied, rebranded, and sold on a global scale, leaving the original creators behind. We see it in music and film, where streaming platforms and content distributors profit while artists, filmmakers struggle to make a living. This must change. If Nigeria and Africa are to truly benefit from the creative and digital economy, we must ensure that intellectual property rights are enforced, respected, and monetized fairly. Entrepreneurs, you cannot afford to ignore your IP rights, as I mentioned before. If you do not own your idea, someone else will. Register your trademarks, as my Lord had mentioned earlier in her speech, in her keynote address. Register your trademarks, patents, and copyrights to legally protect your work. Use legal contracts, as was mentioned just now in the panel that just ended. Use legal contracts and licensing agreements to secure fair business deals and collaborations. Leverage technology such as blockchain and authenticate and track ownership of digital and creative works. Seek legal and financial advice to ensure your intellectual assets are properly valued and protected. Your IP is not just a legal matter, it is your business strategy. Beyond protection, collaboration is the future. Tech professionals can help creatives secure and monetize their digital content. Lawyers and policymakers must champion IP rights to ensure fair compensation. Financial institutions need to recognize intellectual property as a valuable asset that can be used to secure funding and investment. When these sectors collaborate, we don't just protect ideas, we build economies, create jobs, and foster innovation. Some of you may be asking, it was asked earlier in the panel, what is the government role in IP protection? The SAP to the president on digital economy had touched on this, but I'll add a few more to this. As the senior special assistant to the president on entrepreneurship development in communications, innovation, and digital economy, and also in line with the administration's Renewed Hope agenda, I assure you that we are committed to protecting and empowering the entrepreneurs and startups. We're working to strengthen IP laws to prevent exploitation and ensure fair compensation. Mariam discussed this as well. We're working also to make IP registration more accessible and affordable for small businesses and startups, as well as independent entrepreneurs. We're also working to promote ethical collaborations that ensure local creators and entrepreneurs benefit from their work. However, policy alone is not enough. As entrepreneurs, you must take responsibility for protecting your own work. And businesses must not practice ethical, I beg your pardon. Businesses must practice ethical collaboration. Investors must support innovation in ways that protect creators. Nigeria and Africa are full of brilliant entrepreneurs and creators, innovators, and the like. But ideas alone do not build wealth. Ownership does. Own your ideas, own your future. So today, I challenge you, entrepreneurs, protect your IP and get control of your future, and take control of your future. Investors, is Ian still here? He left, okay. Investors and businesses engage in ethical collaborations that respect intellectual property. Policymakers and institutions strengthen protection so that innovation remains in the hands of the rightful owners. The future belongs to those who create, protect, and collaborate ethically. Your IP is your power. Protect it, and you will shape the future. I extend my sincere appreciation at this point to Femi and Alex on the inaugural event of SYNERGYCON 1.0. This has been a remarkable event, being that it's your first outing, and I would like to say congratulations. Thank you all, and thank you for the lovely birthday cake that you gave me. Thank you.
A round of applause. Can we now please call on Mr. Deji Fayose, who is the Group CFO of FCMB Bank, aka Mr. Too Much Money. So if you need it to go around, let's make it.
Don't mind them.
Let's make it rain. But please, a round of applause as he goes up on the stage. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if it's just a few slides. Alex and Bayo didn't allow me to rest over the last 2 days. I've known Alex for a number of years now, and this has been his dream, albeit it's never too late, is it? Okay, so I want to get into the meat. All products observed, just about 5 or 10 minutes to add my own 2 cents to this discussion. Are you putting on the slides, or can I just start? Sorry. Okay. So I think we've called this the creator economy. All right, so I just want to, just state, 1 or 2 points that some of you might not know, but stay on this slide. So in 2024 alone, the year that just passed, startups in the creator economy worldwide secured over just shortly less than $1 billion, $900 million, in funding across the world. According to Goldman Sachs, for those of you that know Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest investment banks in the world, this will double to $40 billion by 2027, just in 2 years' time. It was $240 billion in 2023. There's another article that we saw that the valuation, for this sector is about $525 billion in 2030. And I think number 4 is the one that shocked me the most when I'm aware to this yesterday. So when I had my PA looking at this yesterday, number 4 shocked me, and of the total number of independent creators, millennials in Nigeria, age 20 to 43 are 39%, followed by Gen Z, 12 to 27 years old, 26%. Gen X, I fall into that bracket, by the way, 44 to 59. I'm not at the lower end, though, I'm at the shorter end, at 24%. But baby boomers, 60, 70, 11%. So I just said, wow, that means that even people, it's one of those things that you have in your life that it's going to live with you till you die. It's like, being in my kind of work that we do, after you retire, there'll be opportunities to sit on the board in this company or that company. It's like, there's a creative. So you're 60, 65, 70, you're retired, there'll still be stuff for you to do. So I think that this is, you guys that are in this bracket of the ecosystem, I think it is talent. And, you can't price talent in the market. It's given to you by God. So, you're blessed people. That's the way I say it. On the next slide, I think a key takeaway for us is that for the creator economy, it's growing at a very rapid rate, and it's impacting all sectors: technology, financial services, manufacturing, and production. And if we go to slide 4, please, real quick. So what are the opportunities unique to Nigeria? Nigeria boasts of a growing population of digitally savvy entrepreneurs. You saw the panel here. Content creators and innovators. There's also a growing acclaim to Afrobeat thanks to the Nigerian entertainment industry. As we all know, Thames just won that Grammy Award. We also saw that even Shani Saraki also won something. Nollywood is the second largest film movie industry by volume and third largest in terms of global influence. The proliferation of the fintech industry in Nigeria, I'm sure all of us know about fintech, so I think that's something else that, across the world, I think Nigerian fintechs are doing the biggest things. So where are the gaps? I'm not going to, read all this, but I'll quickly go there. Monetization and revenue leakage. That's one of the main gaps. So I see that creators face limited access to global payment systems. Revenue sharing models are highly in favor of international platforms, so we're not able to, crack that model whereby your Nigerian, remittance and payment platforms can just deal that for you. IP protection and piracy, which the Honorable Justice has spoken about in length. Financial inclusion and payment systems. Skills and capacity building gaps, which I think is part of the value chain that Alex and Femi are also trying to close. Then gender and regional disparities. So I think for me, this is an important one as well, because we see that in terms of demography, there's a lot of concentration in Lagos. But I think the whole idea of this is to say that there's that young boy in, wherever, Taraba, Cross River, Sokoto, that has the talent and he can access it. And, we can close that gap and say, look, we'll bridge it in any way, whether financing or through building your capabilities. So I think, for us, I'm on the last 2 slides. So what's next? And the next thing is that, this young gentleman that I've come up with his idea is just to try and close the gap, with the support of everyone in the ecosystem. And for us, there are just 4 things that we think needs to be done: job creation and economic growth, global creative influence, attracting foreign investments, technology and digital marketplace. Now, for attracting foreign investment, let me just put that in perspective. The man that spoke there, the events guy, when I was talking about 30 days, 30 December, I was telling my Lord that in those 30 days within Lagos, there was about $75 million that passed through Lagos in 30 days. That was just 30 days. So, those kind of figures are not figures to play with. So it shows that if you have that thing properly structured, then you will see the benefits itself. And obviously Nigeria is moving from, we've gone from oil to much oil. You've made money there. They went to gas. They've made money there. They've gone now. They're on CNG again. Want to make money there. But I think that this sector itself is where the future of this country really holds, because it's not tangible. It's a gift. All right. In closing remark, I think I'd like to say that to the creative creators, hold fast in your profession. Don't give up. And to those of us that are investors, let's take a long position on this talent, and there's clearly part for this in Nigeria. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together again for him. That was a very enlightening couple of slides there. We just want to take our time to just recognize the following people who've taken our time to be here today. Mr. Akintayo Sonolu is a special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on corporate finance and strategy. And let's put our hands together for him, please. And also, Honorable Ogunwumiju, who is a member of the Ondo State House of Assembly and also the Parliamentary Secretary as well. Let's take our time to also put our hands together for him. We are on to our second panel for today. Or we have one more speech, actually, from Mr. Sam Onyemeluke. I don't know if it's alright. I saw him, earlier.
No, he's
Oh,
not.
he's
But
not.
actually, that will be replaced by Mr. Bio Lion,
Okay.
if he's in the room. I don't think so.
No, yeah, I think stepped out. So
okay.
you can come back to that.
Yeah, so I think we should just move on to the next panel at this time.
All right, so we're moving on to the next panel. And for the panel introduction, I want to call on Adeayo Adebi. Yes, to just introduce other members of this very interesting panel.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? Yeah, it's very cold. I don't know how you guys are coping. Shit. The second panel is a very interesting one. They're going to be discussing the Nigerian creative sector and its numerous challenges. I like this event. I'm not a big fan of just bringing people together to talk, and we do it every year. A lot of talk, we don't achieve anything. But this one, it's talk that revolves around the product, so it's quite more positive. We're moving forward. So can we just put our hands together for Alex and Femi? They've done wonderful. Yeah. So without further ado, I would just like to welcome the panelists for this second round.
Adeayo, hi, it's me. To your right. Hi. Okay. So very quickly, I've just been told that we'll be calling on the Commissioner of Youth to just give a very quick goodwill message. Thank you so much. Can I have the Commissioner of Youth, please? A round of applause for him as he makes his way up to the podium. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adebi Adeayo. That's what happens when we are the government. We can stop things in the middle of things. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you this evening as your Commissioner for Youth and Social Development in Lagos, Mobolaji Abubakar Ogulende. My job is always very easy as Commissioner for Youth. One of my key roles is to turn up for the youths. Turn up in any way, shape, or form that I can. And today, my job is to turn up for Femi and Alex. As a government, we realized that there's a big disconnect between the government and our people. And one thing that I have taken pride in personally is to see how I can connect that bridge and continue to bridge that gap when it comes to our youths and the government. Hence, I tend to be on the road most of the time. I'm here to support these two fine young youths, typical youths in Lagos. One thing that has been synonymous in some of the things everyone has been saying is the fact that these two gentlemen have hustled each and every one of us to be here. And I think they deserve a round of applause to be able to achieve this. Bringing up, the panelists that came on stage, it just shows the resilience of a typical youth in Lagos. So my goodwill message is very simple, especially for those in the creative industry. When the panelists were on stage, some keywords were used. Marketing, customer service, legal framework, technology, creativity, integrity, innovation, wise investment. In anything we find ourselves doing, these are key attributes that we need to consider to take on board. In everything that we're trying to do as youth, we need to, have these key values to ensure that we're doing the right thing and we're following the right steps. But the topic, very quickly, your IP, your future. I have just some key examples from three countries, just so that as we are thinking about everything that has been said tonight, as we are going back home and pondering upon it, we can have some key examples that we can add to what we know just to make it a bit clearer and brighter, especially for those in the creative industry. We do not have to look too far to find nations that have harnessed intellectual property to fuel economic growth. Three key examples: South Korea. Once a developing nation with limited resources, South Korea invested heavily in intellectual property protection, technology, and education. Today, it is home to global giants like Samsung and Hyundai, with intellectual property accounting for a significant share of its economic output. That's one. Two, India, very similar to Nigeria in its youthful population and entrepreneurial spirit. India strengthened its IP laws, creating a vibrant tech ecosystem where startups thrive. This has fueled its emergence as a global hub for IT services, pharmaceuticals, and digital innovation. And lastly, China. Despite past challenges with IP enforcement, China reformed its policies, leading to a surge in patents and trademarks. Today, its strong IP infrastructure supports mass economic expansion, particularly in AI, e-commerce, and biotechnology. Now I bring it home. 4 opportunities in Nigeria's economic growth. Number 1, startups and tech entrepreneurship. Strong IP protections will encourage Nigerian startups to scale globally without fear of idea theft. And this is an area where we see a lot of youths. Number 2, creative industries. Music, fashion, gaming, and literature can generate billions if IP rights are well protected and monetized. Again, a lot of it has been said by the previous panelists. Number 3, agriculture and biotechnology. Innovations in agri-tech, seed patents, and food processing can commercialize to ensure food security and economic diversification. And lastly, something that is creating a buzz everywhere, artificial intelligence and digital economy. With AI-driven innovations emerging, ensuring patents and trademarks for Nigerian AI startups will be key in remaining competitively globally. Final thoughts. As we engage and we continue to engage, I'd like to ask all stakeholders, especially those in the creatives, the government officials, financial institutions, technological leaders, investors, and creatives to commit to building a future where Nigeria's intellectual capital is protected, respected, and monetized. I repeat, protected, respected, and monetized. And I think it takes all of us in this room to achieve that, because no man is an island. There's key in collaboration. And when we come together to do this, we can always achieve our goal. We must educate our people on intellectual property, strengthen our legal frameworks, encourage collaboration. Collaboration is key. And champion Nigerian creativity and innovation at a global scale. And finally, our intellectual property is not just an asset, it is our future. By working together, we can transform Nigeria into a nation where ideas flourish, business grow, and economic prosperity becomes a reality for us all. Thank you, and God bless you all. Mr. Adeayo, you can now have the floor.
Oh, that's inspiring.
Thank you. The government is leaving the stage. A round of applause.
Yeah, we have the commissioner. Nice. I probably could have had the speaker, but I guess that would be a bit complicated, right? Yeah, you guys didn't get it. Okay, sorry about that. No offense to the speaker. That was meant to be a joke. Yeah. So so straight to the point. The second panel, we'll be discussing the challenges revolving around the Nigerian creative sector and how we can resolve these challenges. So please welcome on stage Toby Balogun. He is the creative director and content producer for F27 Arts. Is he here with us? Let's put hands together for him. Barrister Onyekosala Fuza Fawaimi. She's the lead legal consultant for Zaida Oracle Limited. Ebenezer Ugo Akachuku is an A&R and a blockchain developer.
Yeah.
Mr. Abisagbola Oluseun John is a double Grammy nominated A&R and the CEO of Bankuli Entertainment. Mr. Oladapo Adewumi, CEO Apollo Endeavor.
A round of applause, please.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Shola Edu, he is the founder and creative director for CG Artists and Deluxe Studios. And last but not the least, Barrister Akinyemi Anyolua. He is a partner with ITOA solicitors and advocates. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. Okay, so let's get straight into business. You guys want me to sit down or should I just stand and ask you your questions? Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's very cold.
It's cold in here, man.
Very cold. So we'll start. When we talk about the creative sector, there's a lot of challenges. And when we talk about challenges, one of the challenges that people first of all bring up, or our mind keep going back to, is the challenge of funding. If you have a vision, for you to bring that vision to life, for you to execute it, you need fund. And I think it's just appropriate for us to start with the funding challenges. So first question to Mr. Oladapo. Why do you think banks and investors hesitate to fund artists, film projects, and other creative businesses? He's on the stage.
Sorry about that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, I'm not quite familiar with the process, but all protocol observed. Have you?
Yep.
So I think one of the issues that we usually have in the creative industry has been spoken about tonight. People still are quite skeptical about the creative industry on how they could get returns of their investment, right? And I think because a lot of creatives are still individuals, right? We don't have a structure, we don't have a process, we don't have any way where investors can really track, which is where a lot of conversations have started coming into place, where VCs, companies are coming into place, right? Because right now, for example, you like a filmmaker or a content creator or something, and you want to invest. At the end of the day, when you invest the money, how do you get the money back? You have to start to chase the person. Probably they turn off their phone and you're looking for their manager or looking for somebody who knows them, one way or the other. So I think that inavailability of structure, right, has been a huge deprivation for investment in the industry.
Thank you. So do you think that there's a Nigerian peculiarity to these issues, like maybe like the unwillingness to address this problem, or the way they say it, quote unquote, the anyhowness, the way we do business here, where we don't have regard for structure? Do you think that's like a major stumbling block for investors to come in and inject funds into the creative economy?
Not necessarily, right? Because as we speak, there are quite a number of people trying to bridge that gap, right? I think earlier, I think he's left. There's one of the CEO or co-founder for what's it called, Flutterwave, right? Operating as VCs to filmmakers, and then also going to the level where those people are one of the revenue-generating partners that they have, right? So I just think we need more people to come into play, and then more structures to come into play, and then things will change properly.
Okay, so let's talk about alternatives. So what alternative options, mediums can creatives consider aside the traditional financial institutions like the bank and possibly the VCs as well?
Other traditional options they can look at is maybe distribution partners, right? I, for one, my company, basically, we do a lot of funding and loans, right, to creatives. We're not a banking system or we're not a VC system. We basically help the creatives generate revenue from their talent and then contents. But because we also understand that they're looking for funding, we sometimes provide those services. Oh, you have a fantastic series or you have a fantastic content idea, but you don't have funds. For us, it's still good business because if you make money, we make money. So those are some of the alternative options that some of the creatives can have.
Yeah, so loan, and hopefully they don't go to loan sharks and they start texting your family members and all. So now, Bankole, you're very particular about education. in the Nigerian creative sector, educating creators and also educating the consumers as well. So what do you think education, especially educating the creatives, how long do you, how far do you think it will go in bridging this gap in terms of like people understanding their different roles so we can attract more funding into the creative sector?
Education is very, very important. As far as creatives is concerned, apart from the talent, apart from understanding the process of how to utilize or make use of what that talent is about. You know, I always tell people education is not just going to school alone. Even as an ordinary photographer, you know, it is essential to understand that, okay, the kind of lens to use for a particular situation, you know, is important. Not to now just, you know, talk about using it as a business, you know, to follow up with the business as well. You know, you see a lot of creatives out there, they are only excited about the talent that they have. In terms of, oh, what they see, they get gaslighted, you know, they just want to do that. They don't want to understand, okay, how did the process, what brought about, how can I utilize, you know, how can I use my talent, you know, to make a better living for myself. So as far as education is important in anything you do in life, you know, as far as using your talent is concerned, you know, education is very, very paramount, you know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Mr. Toby Balogun, there've been advancement and maybe some bit of positivity in terms of infrastructure when it comes to the Nigerian creative sector.
Yeah.
So, but it was still a bit far from where we want to be. So, why do you think we keep having this issue, this infrastructural deficit and an inability to actually build structures in Nigerian creative industry?
Okay, I would say there are like a few things that we need to consider. I would say first thing is like the willingness for the creatives also to want to learn, right? Because if you're open to learning, you definitely be able to like, you know, solve some problems, some issues, you know, at the end of the day. Then other things that I would say we need to like, you know, build on are like certain infrastructures that would solve the problems that we're having. So infrastructural problems like creative hubs, we need like more production companies, more internet infrastructure, if you may. We don't really have like very fast internet, or we have some that are like, you know, coming up there, but they're still not as fast. We don't have like hubs or like startups for creatives, like the IT people. So I feel like we need to like create some things like that.
Oh, nice. Nice. So now to Mr. Sholaidu. Okay, yes. So we've talked about how there's a structural deficit in the Nigerian creative sector. Now, do you think this structural deficit is directly linked to the lack of funding? Like people, and even more so that because this funding is now directly tied to the ability to build. So do you think the lack of structure, the lack of a proper organization, so to say, kind of like get like the way they see it from outside, the way potential investors see it from outside, views it from outside, does it affect the possibility of them coming to, inject some funds into the creative sector?
Yeah, for sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to be here because I'm from an industry where we don't get to come out a lot. So I'm from the games industry. Yeah, I'm sure you don't get to meet a lot of game developers. Yes. So I've actually been making games since 2014. I've developed over 30 games published on the Google Play Store and the App Store. But one major thing that I noticed was when I decided to go out and get funding, I bootstrapped my company since 2013 till 2023 when I got to a point that I needed to scale on a different level. And one thing I realized was I wasn't investor ready in any way. Like, no, not in, like, so even the ecosystem itself, like the gaming ecosystem is not really functional or even there yet. It's like an uncharted territory. So all we just have is people that have been there for a while, OG. So there is really no structure. So while I was running my company all this while, I was just majorly running like a freelancer that has a team, you understand? So there was no proper structure to it. So even the organization or the game studios in Nigeria are not even properly like organized. They don't have proper structure, which is also my own story. Like I can tell you, we didn't have an HR person until last year.
So you serve like you're the HR, you're the everything.
Yeah, so like a typical startup entrepreneur probably just does all the wears a lot of hats. Yeah. So in the gaming industry, in the creative space, even worse. You understand? Like so, it's a lot worse compared to other industries. So because because you don't have a lot of support, maybe from the government or from investors, you don't get a lot of support. You have to do a lot of things on your own. And so for you to attract investors, you have to be investor ready. So that was why I also went into an incubator in 2023, the Orange Corners. And what that really gave me was a lot of confidence because after the incubation program, I made the top 20 then. I ended up winning the major prize, which is I made top 5. Do you understand? So that only shows that, okay, we actually have what it takes if we put in the right structure into the business. So what they were able to teach me during the program was that, okay, you need to have this, you need to have that, how to write a pitch deck, how to do pitches, the right set of people to have on your team, the management team and all those things. And after that, I went for an accelerator program as well because I know I still need knowledge. You understand? Like you said, education is key. So I know I still need knowledge. So that's me transitioning my business from a traditional creative business to a startup. And that's why I'm still on that journey. But I can tell you for sure, no investor would invest in you. Even at this point, we are still not like there yet. I mean, for grants, we get a lot of grants. So for your question on alternative funding, grants is one thing that can help a lot of businesses like get to that point, build their products. And so for grants, you can still get some grants. But when it comes to like investors, there are certain requirements that are needed for you to have in terms of structure. But most people don't really meet that level yet.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. That's quite insightful. So just on a lighter note, do you guys think maybe the startup communities should come together and just scrap turtleneck? Yeah, just let it go. Just like okay, it worked with the guy from Apple, but I just like it just carries like a bad. Yeah, what do you think, you guys? Yeah.
So I don't see a lot of people wearing turtlenecks
anymore.
Don't
wear turtlenecks. Yeah, because people think it means they're going to lose their money.
No,
now, so don't talk about structure. Oh, you want to say something on turtlenecks?
No, you can wear other things.
Okay. Yeah, so now, one thing about structure, right? One of the issues that keep recurring is the disregard for contractual relationship, contractual agreements, and usually when two creatives come together to just come up with an idea and they don't feel the need to make something binding. They just want, okay, let's just start. We'll figure it out. We'll see how it goes. So, Foza, how far do you think is an issue, or how much of an issue is this for the creative sector? The lack of standardized legal contracts and just a general disregard for legal relationships.
So, I have very, very unpopular opinions to a lot of things that have been said. And it comes from, I think, a lot of exposure to different things and different, industries and understanding, especially the history of those industries. One of the things that we hear, or every time I hear, is, oh, there's no structure, there's no infrastructure, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have, I did my MBA in 2022, and I've been doing business for 10 years, and when I did the MBA, everything I was just like, oh, but I do this, I already do this, I already do this. The only difference was an Englishman was putting an English word to what I was doing, right? So sometimes it makes me wonder, which also affects the way we draft our laws, is do we contextualize and put nuances into the systems and operations that we do as Africans? One of my gospel is that African problems need African solutions. You can't use a French, I was in France and someone stood up and said, your country is corrupt. And I said, yeah, but you taught us. And they were shocked. I'm like, yeah, you come to my country, you steal my artifacts, then you tell me that you need to build it to a certain temperature before you give it to me back. First things first, you stole it. And now I'm asking for it back, you're giving me, put it at something temperature. That's what's happening, right? And I'm telling you, the Benin Wall is still standing. How did I build that? What was the science to doing that? You know, when COVID happened, we were creating, people were using the dongoyaro leaves and they were telling us that we're bush, we're local, because they wanted to sell vaccines to us at $50 million. But people in, you know, Kano State or whatever were drinking and they were fine, right? So these come down to the jurisprudence of what our IP was. You know, my Lord was talking about the jurisprudence. And one of the things I asked when we're doing the cultural policy review, one of the questions I asked, I said, what is our jurisprudence as a nation? Are we capitalist or are we socialist? That's a very important question to ask when it comes down to contracts, right? It is, we like to reap the benefits of capitalism, but we want to function in a socialist context. You want to borrow money from an American who is purely a capitalist. An American will tell you, oh, my daddy died. Okay, sorry, but can you still send that email? In Nigeria, my daddy died. Hey, your CEO is coming to your office to come out. Sorry, your CEO is coming to the burial ground to help you pour sand. That's not how they work in America, right? It's a different culture. In America, when you collect money, it is, I own your life and I own your future for a few dollars. In France, or in Europe, the creator is creator first. And you see these expressions in AI now is coming. Everybody's shouting AI. Everybody's excited about AI. Tech bros are wearing turtleneck and thinking that they are the future of AI. You know, but nobody's asking and saying, you want to bring AI into when the creators have not even eaten, but you now want to cannibalize it with this technology. Right? So people are excited that you can do 2 prompts and there's a video, which means that the agency that would employ 5 people to create an ad will only do 2 prompts and get a video. So where does that leave the thousands of Africans that are young and need to make money from creativity? So when you say things like standardized contracts, legalized contracts, a lot of the things that has been given to us. I'm a lawyer, I've been doing this for 10 years, you know. A lot of the things that we see or I see in contracts are things that the UK or America has forced down on us. And the reason they forced that on us is because they've given us money and you have to act accordingly, right? So I'll give you an example. I'm dealing with an American lawyer, then he sends to me and says, your client is going to pay my legal fee. I was confused, I got confused, say, hello, maybe I said, have I sent my own legal bill to your client? I'm confused. Is your client, as they said, oh, that's the standard. I said, it's not the standard. You're working with 2 different people. Nothing is the standard. We create a standard during that operation. But it's also the language that so my thing is, you say, oh, we need standard contracts. But the industry is still in its very nascent stage, right? Before we had how we are doing the operations now, there was the Alaba market, there was the distributor, there was this. You know, one of the things people say, oh, Alaba is wicked, Alaba is mean, Alaba is this. I took the time in 2014 and I went to Alaba. You know, how many of us have been to Alaba? Yeah. Right. Right. You know, my Lord said NCC is, you know, needs to do more work, which I completely agree. And when I went to Alaba, and you know, we went to go and raid we paid some policemen and went to raid the people that were pirating our CDs. And we got there and the guy said, I'm confused. He brought out the agreement and said, but this is the agreement. Like, so what are you talking about piracy? He said, your guy has an accounting clause, but has never come back to check on the accounting to ask me whether, you know, so it's like, so it occurred to me that there's actually a system, but we feel, because of, we've gone out and we've seen that, oh, you sit in your house and someone sends you a royalty statement. It's a different ballgame here. You function according to the context of your environment, right? Do you understand? It's like, just because in America, they will remove your head before you can get 1 kidney, doesn't mean that that's how we do it in Africa. In Africa, IP comes from a socialist point of view. It is, we have folklore. In America, how many folklore do they have? Miss Rachel? They don't. It's in you know, in every village, You have a folk law. You have someone singing something by Tales by Moonlight. You have a village man that passed something to something to something. It is a communal thing. IP is communal. It is not capitalist for us in Africa. So these are the things that we need to, and I was so proud. You see, please let's give a round of applause to the president.
Which president?
To the president of Nigeria.
Okay, okay.
And I'm saying that because this is the first time that there is a serious intention for the creative economy. There have been policies, there have been people that have been drafted into the stakeholder meeting. There are people that they've been working. I mean, we might not see the result. I keep moving from. But the first time the minister called and said, when they've appointed the minister, everybody's like, who's this one? Hey, Jesus, it's not ever going to happen. She's this, she's that. And someone said, I need you to meet the minister. And when I met her, she said, what do you want? I said, the only thing we want from you is IP policy and the securitization of IP. We can't do it as individuals. Let me tell you, we don't need money from the government. We just need the policies. The creatives in Africa, the young people in Africa, when they step out, bro, the West is bereft of ideas. They don't have culture like us. They don't have food like us. They don't have colors like us. They are depressed. Even when we don't have money, we're happy because we have culture.
Yeah.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, the Black Panther. Yeah. So now a big part of securing or safeguarding IP laws, even within the cultural context that Foza has pointed out, has to do with unions coming together as a body, coming together as a group of creatives to create standards that protect our own ideas, our own intellectual properties. It's a shame that Nigeria, we do not have very strong institutions when it comes to unions and bodies. So Bankole, where have we gotten it wrong in terms of, you are part of the Nigerian music industry, you're a prominent force there, and there's the Muson, there's the Union of Artists, which have struggled to even come up with a standard to even get artists their royalties and all. So where have we gotten it wrong, and what should we do to start getting it right?
I think I like the way you've been able to articulate what you've just said about IP protection. I will come to the question. Whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, there is a standard for everything that happens. IP protection, security-wise, content, everything, we've been talking about. And you cannot just change that standard as, so to say, as it is. I would just advise, people, lawyers, creatives, is to have better education of how to protect themselves individually. A lot of your peers who are lawyers too, when they go to school, they read law. Most of them didn't diversify into creative law, right? A lot of them they don't even have an idea of what entertainment law is. They are catching up with what is going on around. So in that regard, I believe it is also important for people that want to come into this business, especially, smart people like you, lawyers like you, to also understand that there is a standard. Example, you cannot just say because Grammy is what Grammy is, you will submit your package to specification. That you want to send your package to them with your own standard. There's a standard for how, to get things done. And whether you call it capitalism or socialism, everything in life, as far as creative is concerned, is, per government, they use it to favor themselves. I'll give you an example. You're talking about music industry in America. Look at the Democrat Party. They sort of have a stronghold on what happens when it comes to their political campaign or whatever they do. You see Beyonce, you see some few top people, they use their popularity to project what the political party wants to do. And you won't find them on the other party, example, Republican.
You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I believe when it comes to IP protection, yes, government has to see music or even creative. They have to see them that, okay, this is a business. This is something that is worth protecting. As far as it is in Nigeria today, they all, I mean, they just see them as, oh, TikTokers. Oh, they see them as, oh, they are, you know, youth. They are jobless youth. A president in Nigeria called youth jobless youth because they are on social media, you know, criticizing what the government is doing. That doesn't mean there's no business inside that joblessness. There's business. People are making money. Go on TikTok. You see a lot of people are there. They don't sleep till 5 a.m. making mockery of themselves. That is what some people will see it as. But at the end of the day, they are making 20K, 30K, 50K that they cannot get from job creation that is supposed to be put forward, so to say, by government. So at the end of the day, when it comes to, you know, IP protection, government actually getting involved in this creative economy, they have to take it serious. Beyond just sitting down, talking, you know, they have to be, you know, they have to be part of it. That's exactly what I'm saying. You know, for the question you just asked, it is important, you know, like I said earlier on, for people to be educated about what they're getting into. It is beyond just having that talent alone. Oh, I can sing, oh, I can make comedy, oh, I can, you know, I can jump, oh, I can do this. How do you monetize? How do you connect with people like this that can turn your creativity into money? At least on a level that is not as, you know, as big as what we might be looking for. So for me, it is important. Sorry, I think I've missed your question.
Oh, so the question is,
it is important to.
Yeah, it's what roles do unions play in safeguarding?
Yeah, unions are very important. You know, in the past ones with the example for the music industry, I know we have COSONs and the rest of them. I mean, for COSON, a lot of people were very skeptical because of the kind of image, the kind of, you know, stories, you know, people at the ends of affairs, how they fought themselves in the media concerning people's royalties. You know, and a lot of people have been skeptical about joining them. I believe it is important, you know, that we correct all this, you know, perception. And if possible, create more. I know you are creating a summit. You are bringing a lot of creatives together. There should be more unions. It should not be restricted to just one. COSON, you know, and the other ones. You know, unions are very, very important. What they do is not just to bring, you know, creatives together, but also to fight for their rights, to protect them, you know, to lobby as a body, you know, to speak, to interface with government, so to say, you know, on issues and how to, you know, to partner with the nation, to not just, you know, for people to make money individually, but also to make Nigeria look good. You know, when you have people that do, you know, that create content, you know, your country is not your enemy. It doesn't matter whether the country is doing bad in some aspect. Doesn't mean everything has to be anti the government. You know, it got to a level in the last political dispensation, so to say, from the perception of what we've seen, you know, politicians were seeing creatives as enemies. I don't know if you saw that. They were seeing them that, oh, maybe they are leaning to a particular, you know, political, but it should not be so, you know. As creatives, nobody is saying that you should not, you know, vote or, you know, campaign for whoever you love. But at the end of the day, you must find a way to, you know, have that balance. We must not say because we are creatives as well, or we are going to form a union, or we are being protected by a certain union, we're going to, you know, destroy the image of Nigeria, so to say. So for me, whether you like it or not, I believe it is important we have more unions to protect even the legal community as well, doing business within the entertainment industry, so that people don't just speak individually. You know, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. First, just before we get back to you, okay, so you spoke about how even politicians might consider creatives their enemy, and I think that's a larger prejudice that kind of holds up when you consider the Nigerian peculiarity. So, Ebenezer, to you finally. So now, do you think Nigeria as a nation and as a cultural people, do you think there's maybe this bias, maybe it's even cultural, towards creatives? Maybe it's the type of job they do, especially the optics that come to it, that comes with it. I mean, just look at Mr. Toby now. Like, yeah, I mean, just can you take off your cap? Yeah, thank you. Now, yeah, so like the average 60-year-old man looking at him and looking at, like, he probably don't want his son that is 14, looking up to you. Yeah, I'm saying no offense, just because of your brace. So yeah, and of course, and you look at you. Come on, you guys are creatives. Like, even look at Ebenezer himself. Look at his dress. So there's this there's possibly this bias. Maybe it's optical. Maybe it's because of the choice of job work you choose to do, because it's not quote unquote professional. You're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, like or nationalist like Foza. To the question. So do you think there's a bias, and how do you think we can maybe get them to understand better?
So 2 questions?
Yeah,
possible. But I think you just confirmed there's a bias. So
okay, I was biased against it.
Okay. Second question. I think you asked how do we solve that problem?
Yeah, how do you think we can solve it?
I think the answer falls down to structure. So that's like a denominating factor with everything everyone has said here on the panel. Structure. The one thing that strikes with the Afrobeat movement in Nigeria is we just have the noise, which is typical with us as Nigerians, but we don't have the actual value. I come from a digital distribution background where I have access to lots of backends with distributors. And if you walk up to someone who works in Empire right now, Empire is probably I'm just giving an example. Empire is probably the biggest investor in music, Afrobeat, right now. And they will tell you that they are at loss. They haven't recouped all the money that's been spent. And that's because, again, structure. If you look at the Afrobeat industry, there's no proper charting system. When the majors come into Nigeria, they go set up their African office in South Africa. So there's a lot of factors that makes it seem like the entire thing is a joke. I think it's just recently that things started becoming more formalized because people could see, you can't contain this thing again, or it's going viral, so you have to sit up and pay attention. So I think maybe, first of all, when that issue of structure is taken care of, and by structure I mean as an artist, I can be in my state, Lagos, and I'm making music, and I'm eating, I'm living, I'm feeding. I don't have to be a top 10 superstar. I don't have to be a Davido. I don't have to be a obese kid. But I'm fine. I can survive. I can feed my family. I can take care of my basic needs. I feel like when we get to that point where this is more common, parents and guidance, I guess, will have a lighter look on creative talent.
Thank you. So I absolutely agree with you, because I feel like when it comes to the creative sector now, there's a look about it that feels like you're not serious. Like, it just generally just look like maybe you're not. I don't know if it's peculiar to Nigeria alone, but if you tell your parents you want to be even an actor, which is something that is evident, like you could see, like your parents practically watch movies and they love Odunadi, and you tell them I want to be an actor, they'll be like, no, you are going to be a doctor, or an engineer. So I think at the end of the day, it boils down to structure. I don't know if the cultural bias will go away, possibly in generations to come.
Culture is also a play. Sorry to cut you short. It's also a play, but we're moving out of that backwards because Nigeria is becoming more of even though we're still far behind, we're becoming more of an internet digital nation. Our numbers still suck. As much as it's growing, but we're still, if you see the statistics globally, you whip for Nigeria. So that is still coming up. So culturally, yes. Also, when we get to the point where internet becomes very cheap, it's like we can think things like, I was talking to an A-list artist who's also very involved in the music business 2 days ago, and we're having a conversation about why are things the way they are in terms of things like this. And I was telling him that you think internet is cheap and affordable. It's not. if you look at Netflix numbers, the numbers on Netflix are terrible. Netflix will tell you because people share passwords and accounts a lot. If you look at Apple Music, which is probably maybe one of the top 3 DSPs in Africa, I don't think Apple have up to 1 million recurring subscribers. So these are all small data that if you look at it, you can see that the problem is actually deep. But we're moving on. We're coming.
Okay. So first, you wanted to say something, and just to ask you a question, so you could just answer everything together. You've talked about the peculiarities, how we should fashion our IP laws and our standard around our own reality, and not maybe try to shoe on our own realities into what is subjective to the Western world or what is obtainable there. So again, but there should be the processes, the guidelines. So how do we, like, currently it looks like we do not have enough and there's no regard for what we even have in existence. So how do we just go through this process and kind of get people and get creatives to respect intellectual property and see it as something that its violation should come with serious repercussions?
Okay, so quick one on unions and why personally I feel unions have failed is over the years we've moved from the communal system that we have as a people to individualism. And I mean, I have a whole theory and conspiracy arguments to that, and there's also like a westernization problem out of that, right? So a lot of the unions, we've tried to do it. It starts out, I've tried to be part of some, and you get to a point, everybody's now beginning to fight for their own company, and I step out, I'm just like this piece. I come from a family of activists. So it's like once we start missing the agenda, I used to move away from it. It's not, we've left that. And also part of like a COSON problem, right? The fight that the COSON problem is having is the laws say we should only have one body doing that, because from the law's point of view, it's like one person can collect for everybody and will distribute evenly for everybody. Now, as we've grown, the capitalism has grown and everybody's like, but I made more money than the guy in Zamfara, why should be making the same money with me? Right? Which is where the ideologies now play and say, okay, have we moved as a people from this kind of ideology, and should the law reflect that, right? And this is why I say that culture really, really affects the laws that come into place. That's why we can't neglect the place of culture. That's on that side. Now, in terms of, yes, I do agree that there are standards. When we're even working on drafting drafting laws, last year I was, part of a committee and I looked at over 100 different laws to get to the draft that we wanted to submit to the government. It's a very tedious work. And I calculated the billable hours that I spent there. I spent almost like 100 hours on that. I didn't get paid for that. It's the passion and the love that I want to see that happen, right? Now, the question will now be, and this is very real issues, right, is now when the law is passed and everybody, when I started doing entertainment law, it wasn't popular. But the kind of money that boys that came last year, that just finished from law school, and they are now lawyers, are making, I said, is it not us, we the foundation guys? So it's, now the question is, what do we do as a people to regard and respect and revere foundation layers so that they don't now turn to the cancers that you don't want them to be? That's a deep question that we also need to ask. So you're asking me and saying, what are the standards, what are the things we need to put and everything? One of my biggest advocacy, and by the time I'm 60, one of the things I want to see and I need people to put my name on is that we fought for the IP court. And that's why I'm very glad that Femi and Ill Skills, I call him Ill Skills, I don't know why they're calling you your real name. When he called me and told me that, look, I'm talking to I know you've been talking about this and I'm talking to the judiciary. See, the last piece of the puzzle for the exponential export of the creative economy are the lawyers. The creatives have done what the creatives need to do. They've created, they've made it popular. The business people in the industry have done with it. The lawyers are the last piece. I can't count up to 100 entertainment lawyers in Nigeria, and we have 38%. We have almost like 70% of the population under 40, which means that there's going to be an explosion of creativity. I handle the biggest stars in the country. I can only do 2 at a time, else I'll run mad. That's the amount of work. So if there's 1 lawyer to 2 superstars, and right now you have 100 superstars, it means that the community is underserved. And it means that the jobs and the briefs are going outside. But I see people like us that also want to do policy work. We can't do it because I also need to eat. So I also need to do private work. So it's slow to work. So I do agree with you, which is one of the things we started last year, is to start training creative lawyers, creative economy lawyers, right? Not just the music, not just the film, for even gaming and so. So when people come and meet me and say, you're a creative, now I can say I'm a creative economy lawyer because I'm training people in 7 different sectors of the industry. But before I tell you I'm a music lawyer, I can't do the same thing as fast as what Isioma Edigbe would do in film, because that's our specialty, right? And that's another thing about us. We would like to do jack of all trades in this country. The training they gave us as lawyer, you can do everything. You cannot do everything. And that training also needs to translate to the courts. I've been in courts if I'm seeing another 6 set of people, plus labor, plus artists, everybody's going to court. Because my advocacy now is that the local investors that have 100 million, 50 million to do that artist development that now scales you to what the big corporations will now off-take, they are beginning to retreat because there's no protection for them. The question is, in 3 months, can I get judgment for my money? That's the speed we need to be moving. With IP, in Africa as a whole, we see IP as our rights. We see another person's IP as our rights. In Nigeria, I'll tell you, I'm streaming you, I'm using my data on your music. Why should I still be paying you?
Oh, you should leave him for God. Like.
But that mentality stems from what I told you from the beginning, is everything is communal, it's folklore. When Akbala started, is you do Muslim, after Muslim fast, everybody comes to the center and someone starts playing. Yeah. That's how Akbala started. Then, before it became all these things that people are doing, Fuji man is like, K1 will just sit there and say, Bankuli Yoshe, mommy, he's paying you, you're happy, you'll be like, my guy, take money. That's how it started. That's not music started. I mean, in America, it started from drugs, right? That's how they funded their industry. These are the realities we need to start having conversations about. My advocacy is that, and which is the final one before I drop the mic, I know I'm talking too much, but it's like the lawyers are the last missing piece of the industry. Are we working on it? Yes. We're working to get trained. We're also talking to the judiciary, we're talking to the government to make sure that there's a faster process to justice. Let me tell you something. The moment you lock one person up, one artist that decides that, or one filmmaker that decides to carry money and run away, or one artist to walk out of contract, everybody will fall in line. In Nigeria, one thing, when one person, they say you are spraying money, everybody was scared. When they arrested one person, what happened? I mean, they are still spraying money, but...
They are still spraying money.
They are still spraying money.
Of course. And nothing will happen to them.
Something will happen to them.
Nothing will ever happen to them.
Okay, God, try it.
Hello, nothing will ever happen to them now.
Do we have people in government here? I don't know. So
we don't have people in government, but we have some people in entertainment.
Okay. Alex is an EFCC ambassador, which is
I don't spray money, by the way. So. Exactly. Let's just put it out there. Nobody knows my daddy.
That's been quite.
Oladapo, you want to say something?
Yes. Just to add my own 2 cents to the entire conversation, right? So for me, there's a major conversation that we need to keep having, which is collaborate and connect, right? And I feel like we're still very fragmented. Everybody are professionals in their own different industries, but we're not talking to each other. So we're kind of using our own level of understanding and knowledge and professionalism in our own field to kind of create solutions for a different field, right? And for example, we're talking of IP and all of that. For a typical, let's say a content creator, for example, he comes up with a good idea, shoots the content, posts it online, right? Tomorrow, I mean, it's something I've seen happen over and over and over again. Tomorrow he wakes up and he sees someone else who he doesn't know in one other state who has watched this video, turn on his phone, shot that same concept from A to Z, right? Without altering anything or adding any value. And that person is even getting more views than he is and making more money than he is. That's theft, right? Because that person conceptualized it. There's a difference from when you have the idea and you keep it. And then there's a difference from when you ever actually put it out and then someone steals it. Now, there's a level of conversation, union, right, need to start to come into play. And then collaborate and connect with policymakers, right? And we're looking at the situation whereby, oh, you stole someone else's content. Should it be on a grassroots level where we're talking of the documentation of your idea needs to be submitted? I don't know. Should we talk about the level where you want to engage platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right? Where they can implement this level of, restrictions on people stealing. I mean, because the moment I upload that video, right, the system understands that I uploaded it first, right? So can technology play a role where he understands, oh, this same video is a spitting image of this same person's idea. There's AI, right? And then basically implement. So those are the type of conversations we need to start to get into to protect people on IP and then technology. And then coming into the way people see creatives and stuff. I think it's cultural that has led to stereotype, right? Yeah, a long time ago. What was profession before? It's lawyer, doctor, and they're always clean-shaven. Bankers, and the creative industry is still very new, right? So we have our own outlook. You can't blame us, right? So it's normal for this process to go. If you go to somewhere like Atlanta, the police officers in Atlanta are all on dreadlocks. Largely.
Even with tattoos.
You go even to the bank. We're not even talking of creative. We're saying normal people who do professional jobs, even doctors. And it's normal for them. So that's their own, way of living, right? So for us, it's not normal. It's gradually becoming because they're seeing people who are looking like that becoming more successful, and they are beginning to understand that they're not actually bad actors, right? They're just people who are creative, and this is how they live. So I think over time, it'll rub off good.
No, I just wanted to when he talked about uploading content and being able to, so it has existed for a while now. It's called Content ID. Whenever you upload anything, especially on YouTube, YouTube is very strict with it. Whenever you upload anything.
It only protects this video. It doesn't protect when you recreate it.
Yeah, actually, when you recreate it, yeah. So sometimes it actually flags it. If people remix it, and it's not all the social media kind of have a remix thing now. But even if you don't, so once you pick it up and you use it, so there is a way they just tag everything. And sometimes I can't wrap my head around the technology, but YouTube is very strict with it.
Devil's advocate, but we love TikTok.
No, TikTok is a trending platform. It's for trends, right? No. There's a difference from original content and trends.
But it's encouraging. At the base of it, it encourages what you're talking
So
about.
YouTube is original content, drama, scripting, all of that. TikTok is, hey, everybody's jumping on from here to here.
But at the base of it, it's recreating the same thing that I've done, but I get more views than you.
No, that's trends. That's what trends is. A movie or a content is not trends.
Yeah, maybe a TikTok trend is not particularly original.
It's short-form content and a long-form content. Fundamentally, they enjoy the same IP protection.
No, they don't.
Okay, we would have to take these debates.
No, they don't. No, for real. No, they don't.
On a legal point of view or from a social point of view?
No. On the creative point of view.
Okay,
exactly.
so
the moment it is under 1 minute, you can't track it. The moment it is under 1 minute. That's why if you notice on TikTok, there are some songs. If you use somebody's songs on any video, the moment the video is over 1 minute, the system, they will flag it. They will tell you that no audio, use another audio.
100% agreed. But I'm telling you that if you come to me as a lawyer and say, Sue, The same short form, the same law is what I will use for the short form content, and the same law I will use for the long form content, which is your idea has been, your work has been replicated. But I'm telling you now that this is also part of the things that the tech that has enabled that idea and mentality subconsciously to explode is TikTok.
No, so this is it. TikTok is based on short form trend content. They're basically saying create something to make other people keep creating. So already you creating something on the platform understands that it will be recreated. Do you understand?
So yeah, but so if I not take that same mentality to YouTube, why am I wrong?
YouTube, that's why YouTube is a full-fledged content.
It's not subconsciously, why am I wrong? That's what I'm trying to explain.
Hold on, let me even just add something to it. Foza, if you notice on Instagram, they provided all the music that you can use.
Yes.
The moment you exceed a certain length of that audio, it will automatically. You understand what I'm saying?
So I'm trying to tell you that
because they don't want you to sue.
And these are the pros and the cons of tech. It is also and that's why law always tries to play catch up. This scenario, from the law's point of view, the same law protects you, whether it's short form, whether it's under 1 minute, whether it's whatever it is, and the long form version of it. And subconsciously as humans, it just, in my mind, I'm just like, oh, if I can do it on TikTok, why can't I do it on YouTube?
No, so this is what I'm saying. The platforms, right, have different policies and guidelines. You engage in it, have agreed to. It's law, it's legal. But so TikTok, I said, if you upload your video short form on the content, it's allowed for people to recreate because it's a trendy platform.
But subconsciously.
YouTube, like you said, has content ID.
But
they are creating systems to protect people because they want people to be more original.
But subconsciously, what is the engineering in your mind?
It's not me. I'm not TikTok. It's TikTok.
That's thank you. That's any TikTok.
All the entire platforms, they have their guidelines. If you notice, even on YouTube, because they saw that. Sorry, because they saw that.
We have to drop this subject.
Sorry. You know, people are enjoying.
Please, you people should agree with Foza so we can go home.
We agree. Sorry, Foza, see, I'll round up. No, we're not attacking each other. TikTok. What is happening on TikTok is also happening on YouTube. They call it shorts. If you notice, even Instagram too, they're trying to create something like that because they're saying that, okay, people are creating trending videos and there is a kind of traction to that particular app. And before you can do that, it's already in their guidelines. You understand what I'm saying? So if you have a problem with any platform or anybody using your original content, not your vocals and somebody's beat that you didn't pay for. All you just need to do is from back end, you can flag it. People flag, they flag videos, they flag audios on YouTube. They take down, that's the word. They take down every second.
Nice, and we're going to take down this conversation now. Thank you, it's about time. So now to round up, Toby, there's a cultural prejudice, there's a trust deficit. I mean, you're like you embody that prejudice. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
So now, how do you think we could as a creator, you could bridge this gap now? Because and you say something quick, Ebenezer will say something quick, then we can round up. So now, I feel like for an investor, so to say, there's always this mistrust. They feel like they cannot trust maybe the average creative with their investment, with their money.
Yeah.
They can just you inject $500,000 into a photographer's business, and he's riding a Rolls Royce the next day. You understand? Yeah, you give an artist some money, like Ebenezer is in here now, he knows how this works. You give an artist an advance, and he buys a Benz, and so there's that has created a trust deficit. Especially now, it's not coming from the investor's perspective or from the larger populace, which is maybe culturally, there's a cultural bias to that. This one now, it's created by the quote unquote, the anyhowness of the creative themselves. So how do we, figure this out?
I'm not sure there's a lot, the individuals can do about it. But at the end of the day, it still boils down to value proposition and perhaps learning Again, like I mentioned earlier, I would encourage the creatives also to learn. Um, Nobody can really tell you how to look but yourself, right? So if you're able to like work on yourself, curate your looks as well. There's another thing that I think creatives need to like take into consideration, which is personal branding, right? Um, there are ways that you want to look that would communicate the fact that you are a creative. And there are ways that you would look that would also say something totally different about you. And that can, in a way, reduce the trust that potential investors or even people that want to work with you would, approach you or work with you. So yeah, I would say it's something that has to do with personal value to basically. Your second question?
No, it was one question.
It was very broad. Oh, you want to chip in? Okay.
Yeah, so Ebenezer, yeah.
Sorry, but
should I repeat the question?
Yes, please.
So I was saying there's a trust deficit created in the creative between the creative sector and the consumer, even the investing community, and this trust deficit was created by the creatives themselves due to their irresponsibility in terms of managing creators' investment. For example, like say a label gives an artist an advance, and this is your marketing budget, this and that, and you do not use that judiciously. You use it for other reasons, and now that creates a larger bit of problem because this person does it, that person does it. This one try to get out of contract. This person try to get out of contract, and it now paints a larger picture that there's a community problem. There's a community problem, and it creates this bias against that community, and even the person, the creative who might or who is more responsible, more trustworthy, gets to suffer from that bias. So how do we? I think. Do you think there's a? Again, I feel like it's individual, it's subjective. You cannot like maybe legislate individual morality, but what can, as a community, so to say, what can you do to make this like to remedy this situation? Do you have to throw people under the bus? Do you have to like put your foot down and maybe unionize and say that you have to vet like an entrance level? Like, what do you think?
Okay, so you painted two pictures. First picture is a scenario where artist gets an advance and blows it. Second scenario from what I could tell is you painted a scenario where artist says, I want to walk out of the contract, right? Two conversations.
Things that just essentially makes them untrustworthy.
Untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Okay, so me, I'm an executive, huh? And I'm just gonna say it the way it is. Thank God there's no artist here. The truth is, there's a very silent beef between artists and execs, because even execs don't trust artists. Like, Bizu left here. He made a tweet some days ago. He was like, he said himself, the artists don't care about you. They just want to just get their way and blow and just walk all over your head. But the game is the game at the end of the day. So if I have to answer your question, the first case scenario, you can't really stop it. I think it's also a cultural thing, poverty mindset. You just get the money and you just want to blow it. Because an artist who's actually committed to his career isn't going to do that. I also manage some artists as well. And I've been privileged to see them raise funding. And I can tell you that I saw two different things. This artist got the money, he's buying chains, is in Ibiza, he's in the UK, he's carrying babes. Other guy got some funding, and he puts it back into his gig, into himself. He's taking pictures, he's trying to brand himself, do things for himself. So it's relative. You can't really put a finger on it. Other side of the coin, where artist says, I want to walk out of the contract. This is an issue that occurs a lot in the music industry. Let me give you an example. One that people will know. Emperor Jeezy and Kiss Daniel, so many years ago. I was privileged to work with them 2014, at the time when we had the catalog, because I had a distribution company called Free Me. Emperor Jeezy spent so much money back then, about 100 mil in 2014 on that guy alone. And one day he wakes up and he's like, I'm done. So it brought up so many conversations, and we started thinking, how do you curb this situation? So we start looking at the majors, the Sonys, the Universal. Those guys actually move with more than just money. So they come to you as an artist, they come with machinery, they come with structure. So you can leave tomorrow, you can walk, right? But the structure stays, the infrastructure, it remains. So let's say an Emperor G, for instance. Let's say let's say, built infrastructure that is able to cater to not just one artist but different artists. Even if Kiss Daniel leaves tomorrow, Techno will walk in through the door and use his facility, use his infrastructure. So I feel like if music investors actually have that mindset where you understand that it's not just about cash, there's other things you could also exchange to get catalog from artists, and then it kind of like it mitigates that risk for you as an investor. So tomorrow you're not sitting down there and the boy comes and says, I know do again, I want to come out.
All right, that's
Okay,
just
sorry,
very,
okay.
very, very briefly so we could round up. Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead so we
cool.
can round up, yeah.
So, again, I think this is where we need to talk about collaborate and connect, right? And also we talk about structure. All the time, the structure doesn't necessarily have to be the creative themselves or the investor themselves. It could be third parties. And this is where we could talk about investment management companies coming into play, right? If you have an investment management coming into play and an investor brings in money, you could say, oh, for the creative, instead of us spending 1 million or 2 million, right, on a daily basis to shoot content regularly, I think it's time we take 500K or 600K from the investment and invest into equipment so that it reduces the cost of what we're spending. So I think an investment management system also needs to come into the creative space as well to manage
All right,
this.
all right. Thank you guys very much for a very, very insightful panel. It's been wonderful. We've learned a lot of stuff. Thank you, Foza, for your advocacy. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Misa. Thank you, Bankuli. Thank you, everybody. It's been wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, the audience, for staying this late. We know we start early, so apologies for taking this long. And yeah, congratulations, Alex and Femi. We wish you guys the best of luck moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, we won't be able to take any questions, but let's just take a quick group picture and then we wrap this up. Alex, okay, wonderful. In the meantime, I'd like to recognize the presence of Mr. Yinka Obebe of Pop Central Television. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to also recognize a few other people. Arthur Ngube of Silverbird Television, the brand manager. Welcome. Thank you so much. Dr. Ogecho Yemem, Bella's Education Services. Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much. And thank you all. Thank you. Mr. Ebenezer, if I had time, I would have asked you a question. Is there anything good in the Nigerian industry space? Yeah, in the space. Yeah, all of it. You sound very, very disappointed by it all. I'm just saying. But you can tell me this later. It looks like you've seen a lot. God bless you. You don't see Shege. Nice to meet you. Well done. Okay, very quickly, can we just have the ad play on the screen very, very, very quickly, guys, because, we have to go. There's still work tomorrow. We have to get our daily 2K. Thank you. Okay, the wait is over. Oh, well, it's just about to start. Please scan the QR code with your phones to join our wait list for solutions and conclusions to a lot of the questions that have been asked here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I was going to ask, but he was quite busy. What about a watchdog or like standard control because of all the content, especially with Gen Z, all this nonsense that they're posting now, content. That's a question you should have asked. But this session, there was no time here. So what's this wait list for? Is it for
smart contracts for accountability, growth tracking and data collation, creative network access. With Finessa, your ideas get the structure they need to attract investment and put real money in your pocket. Build, scale, and own your creative future. Join our waitlist today. Finessa, the framework for Brainwork. Have a brilliant creative idea but struggling to scale and turn it into real money? Legal hassles, no clear structure, struggling to find the right network? We feel you. Meet Finessa, your all-in-one platform to structure, scale, and monetize your creative hustle. Smart contracts for accountability, growth tracking and data collation, creative network access. With Finessa, your ideas get the structure they need to attract investment and put real money in your pocket. Build, scale, and own your creative future. Join our waitlist today. Finessa, the framework for Brainwork.
Alex,
Have a brilliant creative.
Nick, Alex, are you guys?
Everybody wants to leave, but we have to Hello, everyone. Yeah, thank you all for staying this long. This is genuine love, and we really appreciate it. Please call Alex. Yeah. For so many, majority of people here know that we've worked on this project for a pretty while, through the pain points ourselves, getting robbed by collaborators, fighting with people for bad contracts for artists, even taking down people's music because of wars, and even investing in some artists that they decide to run away. So now we're at a stage where technology is helping us to cut these things short. The processes are easier, and by the grace of God, we keep getting inspired to create more. Yes, we can't deploy all the solutions within. We can't deploy all the solutions within a minute, but gradually we are going to onboard all our users over the next 10 years. We keep growing, and we appreciate you all. A moment for Alex, our co-founder and CEO.
Keep going. I want to thank my Lord Justice, our mommy. She made sure that this happened. I want to thank her publicly. And I'm not going to thank her privately again so that we can do bigger stuff. And I want to thank everyone. I want to call names: Otoide, Dr. Charles Williams, Funke Olutoye, my honorable, Tosa, Ayo, the law. I thank you so much. My beautiful wife, Temidayo, that has got the camera on me. Ejiro, our team member. She's been on any team I have or I've had since we were young. Any team, anything I do, she will just follow blindly. Otoide, he's a genius. He has been building things since forever. He's built everything I know forever. Toby, TCD, aerial view. And I also want to say a very, 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 very big thank you to Daddy and Mommy Akibote. Thank you so much, sir. They are always, always, always remembering us in prayers. They don't stop. OC, I don't have money, but you give me money, and you will even still be of service and you're a big man. Thank you. Latasha Lagos. You know, we can't afford you, but we'll give you stock options. Thank you so much. Nobody, no problem, no problem. Mr. Sheon, that investment money should come now. Yes, Ugo, how far is our blockchain doing? Okay, fantastic.
2.0.
Foza, she's about to become, I have not told her, but she's about to become something. I'll tell her soon. Okay, we will leave it at that, but you see the announcement in the news. I really want to thank everyone. It was an impossible mission. Yes, but with love from family, friends, everyone, it became very possible. And we want to just go and take a break now because we know that the possibilities are now very, very, very endless. And everyone knows exactly what we're about now. Finally, I'm a failed lawyer. I didn't go to law school, but I have a job now. Everybody knows I have a job now. So now maybe I can go back to law school. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm not really good at speeches. I really prefer it this way. So that's why we've not really been saying so much, but we've been doing so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for coming. I thank my mom, too, wherever she is. I really, really thank her. She did a lot, a lot. In fact, she was a team member but that nobody was seeing. I really thank her. She was doing a lot of groundwork. I thank her so much. Yes, I'll leave it here. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah. So, well, finally, everybody gets to understand what's burning in my brain. Yeah, because traditionally, I can't explain what's in my brain, but yes, you've all seen it now, and from here on, I believe you can discuss with each other about it and send in the checks.
The checks are important.
Very important. Yeah. So thank you all. And let's look forward to SYNERGYCON 2.0. It's going to be bigger, better. And I want to thank 007 James Bond team member that came 12 midnight, seeing us not have slept. We've not slept for 3 days. And he's like, wait, what are you guys putting on tomorrow? I was like, Abeokuta, they didn't send the delivery. It's like, there's a store somewhere now. No, I'll hook you up with this. But so he hooked us up with this drip. Like, yo, some African prints. Yeah, thanks. Of Lagos State government. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you all. 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 And very, very importantly, we have a team member, investor, barrister, Dr. Charles Williams, a law professor, that from day one that we decided to set out on this journey, and we were discussing the first documentation together. It happened to be in his car. And from then on, as soon as the company was registered till now, we don't even know our accounts with him. He has been very helpful. So everything wouldn't have been possible without him being behind us, because every stumbling block, he has always made sure to leave his own personal problems to sort us out. We thank everybody here, our friends, Femi, Nemo, Praise. Don't worry, I'll still drag you guys. You still have to work harder. You need to do more. At least you've seen the result of the little effort you've put in. We have to double down. So let us all work as a team, because whoever is here right now is a team member. So everybody is going to get the benefits of their collaboration with us. And we thank God for all this. It's all God. And let's continue to remember Finessa in our prayers. And Finessa helps you to navigate problems and reduces human problems. So, and as we move forward, you get to understand that Finessa is not just about the creative. It helps with the agricultural sector. As a matter of fact, our first customer in the agricultural sector was here today. He was also one of the supporters. So the framework also works for other sectors, and we're happy about that we've been able to discover it. So sorry for taking a lot of your time, but we value it, and we know that we appreciate our interaction with you all. Thank you very much. Mommy and Daddy, thank you for constantly and blindly just believing I know what I'm doing. Yeah, because as an engineer, as a registered engineer, when I left school, I've just been up and down. I've refused to get a job, but I have about 100 jobs. My friends understand that. So, but finally, things are manifesting. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. I really appreciate you all for being here. We love you.
There's cocktails and photo ops and networking opportunities outside. Yes, please. Thanks everyone for coming. God bless you as you go back to your houses.